Welcome to Season 2 of the Craft Beer Connoisseurs podcast. I'm Brett. If you're new to the podcast, we are three friends and a producer who like to showcase craft breweries and their beers. Also, we like to end every episode with a short conversation on a variety of different topics. If you're not new to the podcast, well, welcome back. We will keep things similar to Season 1. After all, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Whether you're new or returning, please feel free to listen to all of our Season 1 content. And remember to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untapped, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Brett.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Tyler. And along with us today is Producer Peyton. Hi, Peyton.
Hey, Peyton.
Hello.
So in today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Jobsite Brewing Company, which is in Stratford, Ontario.
I'm excited for this one, boys.
I've been there.
Yeah, me too.
I have also been there,
There you go.
this week. So 2 beers are on tap for today's episode. The first is Impact, which is a West Coast IPA, and the second is Welder's Flash, which is a white stout.
Nice. Another white stout.
Yeah.
Excited for that. So to end the episode, we're going to be discussing our personal New Year resolutions of 2022.
Jobsite is located at 45 Cambridge Street in Stratford, just 2 blocks from downtown. I mean, I should know. I'm there enough.
Yep, that is very
I do
true.
know the actual location of it.
Yeah.
And the idea of Jobsite was started during a conversation during a lunch break. Anybody want to take a guess?
At a brewery?
Walmart.
Walmart? No. Brewery?
Parking
No.
lot. Nope.
On a job site,
Oh, okay.
Okay. Wow.
Makes a lot of sense.
doesn't it?
So the brewery was founded by both Phil Buehler and Dave Oldenburger, as they had worked together for 9 years in the construction industry on job sites. And basically, after they did a craft beer tour back in 2016, they decided to put their passion of craft beer to use, just in a kind of different area of expertise.
Yeah.
In making the beer instead
Instead of drinking it. Yeah.
Really constructing it, if you will.
Yeah.
So the building actually shares space with Junction 56 Distillery, which, I mean, they've got some good product too. So
They
you should
absolutely do.
Yeah.
definitely check that out. Now, it used to be an old Timber Mart, which used to be Pounders, I believe,
Yeah,
right?
Banner Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually stopped in there many times before. So it's actually kind of interesting to see this kind of like molding of using a building for construction products to now have Jobsite in there.
Comes
So
full circle.
Very, very full circle. So they did have some leftover lumber, which they used for tables, bar, and overall concept of the building. So it's nice to see that kind of mesh together, right?
And producer Peyton chiming in here just wanted to state that he actually went to the Scouts program with brewer Phil.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
So I wonder, way back in the day, how much they were talking about beer.
Did they get the beer badge when they were doing scouts?
I see what you did there. So the brewery has a very creative layout, almost like a faint L shape, if you will, because, there's a long, narrow dot at the back and then kind of angled towards the front. It is fully accessible. That allows for special events, seating up to 300 people when they are able to be at full capacity.
Wow. So pretty big then.
Oh, yeah, it's a pretty big brewery for sure. Actually one of the biggest places in Stratford in terms of being able to eat at, I would say. So it allows for locals and tourists to learn, interact, and enjoy the beer from this construction-themed brewery.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense.
It does. So when they started the brewery, they actually sunk in around $250,000 to develop the business plan, and it actually opened its doors in the summer of 2018. So it's been open for a good 3.5 years now.
I will state, I was also there day one.
And day 2.
And day 500.
Yeah.
Meeting all the milestones.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well,
it's my most checked-in place on Untapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure it is. So, you know what? I'm just going to kind of take a pause on that. The sinking the money in and then doing their development of the business plan, I think like that is crucial for the livelihood of the business and the sustainability of it, right? You put the time, the money in ahead of time. And then you can really see that kind of come to fruition as you move along. You don't want to go ahead, sink a lot of time and money into it, and then just nothing it just flounders, right? So it's really nice to see that they really put it in a lot of energy ahead of time. So
Absolutely. And you know how, as the business changes, the world changes, the business is going to change. So originally, the plan was never to enter the LCBO beer store. But because, pandemic and everything
Gotta
else.
adapt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So is the craft beer business. So when I had a discussion with Phil, they're actually currently in the process of getting a possible 7 SKUs in the LCBO by the end of 2022 and potentially beer store as well.
Oh, that'd be huge.
And that's a lot of SKUs to start with, right? Like usually you might get in with, 1 or 2, but 7, that's...
Well, pretty
that's
much
quite a
it's
bit.
one of those things where they're just trying to apply for everything and see what hits. And
All
see
right.
what gets
Little
in.
shotgun method. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And we've seen in the past that they had their labels were basically just an orange can and they put a sticker on it about which beer it was, and they've really started to add like actual can art.
Images.
Yes,
Yeah.
within the last 3 months or so, it's really taken off. And a lot of them actually been really creative too.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's part of the reason is because
sure
if
it
they're
is.
looking to put it in the LCBO, you're going to want to have actual can art rather than just a sticker of what beer it is.
And this is just me, but I really hope Awkward Moments hits the LCBO.
Yes. And you'll probably see that when we post some of the beers we've had before. But how would you describe that can art, Brett?
Let's just say an honorary plumber.
I thought that they're playing homage to you at the brewery. I thought that's what that was.
No.
That awkward moment when Brett walks in the brewery.
They know I'm there for a good time and potentially a long time. Also, Phil's noted that amid COVID restrictions, there might be more outside of the toolbox beers experimented with in 2022. So, things are able to kind of stay open. So a test of that was actually in their advent calendar. Christmas advent calendar. So they had 25 different beers. And the last one they had was actually what's called a frozen lager or an Eisbock, which is actually brewed then frozen outside, which allows the malt to separate from the water due to the cooler temperatures, which then higher the alcohol content. So normally it's going to start like a 9%, but it could get as high as 15% given the elements.
Wow. Yeah, and I've never had an Eisbock, I don't think, but I've heard that they're very, very difficult to brew.
Correct.
Which makes sense because if you're basically relying on outdoor temperatures, then it's kind of at your mercy.
So pretty much just don't do it in the summertime.
Yeah, that would not go well.
So also with the business plan kind of changing, Phil's kind of taking a little bit more of a back seat when it comes to brewing. He's only brewed about 4 beers since August with the manager, Jesse, kind of taking over most of the load. And Jobsite's able to produce around 1,600 liters of beer a week.
Wow.
And you'll see some of the tanks on our Instagram when we get there.
So Producer Peyton wants us to kind of circle back to the overall look of the brewery. So he did mention that the bar top actually has carpenter tools covered with epoxy. And so that's really a neat touch. So you're basically drinking your beer on top of tools, right? Like you're at a job site.
Yeah.
And when you get their flights, they actually have different colored nails too. So like red is IPA, blue is cream ale, et cetera,
Nice.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all nicely tied in.
Yeah, and so they've added some more technology kind of as they went along, right? So we talked about the implementation of a canning machine in 2020, which is kind of like, I guess you have it listed here as a community machine, right? So
Yes.
Other breweries within the Stratford area also use the same kind of canning machine. So again, we get that kind of collaborative approach with the local breweries coming together.
Yeah. So for example, they shared a lot with Black Swan. It was kind of funny because Black Swan has brewed a chocolate milk stout and Jobsite brewed a chocolate milk stout, and they didn't know that they were doing it. So when Jobsite passed the canning machine to Black Swan, it's like, oh, here's our chocolate milk stout. And they're like, oh, here's our chocolate milk stout. They didn't know.
So they brewed it basically at the same time?
Pretty much, yeah. They had no idea what was going on. Kind of funny.
That's hilarious. So we know that Brett has been to the brewery.
Yeah.
I have not been there. Have you been, Tyler?
I have. I've been a handful of times, actually. I've gone with Brett and Producer Peyton a couple times.
But not Chris.
Yep, as he just said, he's not been there.
No, I have not been there.
Yep,
We'll get you there sometime next year.
Yeah, I'd like to go. Absolutely. It's a little bit further. You guys are always usually in that area, whereas I'm not usually in Stratford.
Yeah. There's actually a seat there that's a little bit worn out from where Fife is.
Oh, yeah.
Fife's Corner, they call it. They're going to be hanging signs. It's going to be a whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, sure. So on Untapped, Phil and everybody who's brewed there has been 97 different beers and seltzers, I guess, because they have made a couple seltzers.
They've dabbled.
As one does.
I've had 61 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is around 63% of the total beers that have been created at Jobsite I've had. Our producer, Peyton, 46.
Wow.
And
Quite a bit
this
as well.
is a surprising fact because obviously sometimes I bring a couple beverages here. So does Producer Peyton. Chris, you've had more than Tyler has.
I have, yes.
Yes.
True.
So Chris, you've had 14. Tyler, you've had 10.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is, I think when I've been to the breweries is I haven't got any of the flights. So again, I could have probably stacked up more different styles, but I usually just go for a pint because I know I have an hour drive home. So
and maybe you've had some before you had Untapped. I don't know.
Yes, that is actually true as well.
Yeah.
Good call.
So in terms of highest ratings, I've rated a couple of 5. Who could have thought?
What a surprise.
Oh, my goodness. So the apricot.
A couple.
Yeah, it's a couple. So the apricot peach sour splinter and the sparkler, which was just recently re-released. So it's our sour IPA. Very, very good.
Which is actually kind of a surprise because that's only 2 out of 61, which is lower than your normal percentage on Untapped. So you know what? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Thank you.
He's giving critical ratings
Yeah.
to Jobsite.
That's what that is.
Well, my highest rating of Jobsite beers was their Talus single hop. I gave it a 4.25, and that was actually one that we tried on one of our producer specials just a few weeks ago when we had the different single hops that we tried.
Yeah, and I'm a 4.25 on the Handyman Harvest and the Takis single hop. And Producer Peyton?
Yes, so he really enjoys the cream ale and both light duties with juice. He's rated both of them a 4.5.
Big juice guy.
Yeah, and as our listeners will see, most of these beers also have that Jobsite type theme.
Yes.
So like the cream ale is called 2x4.
There you go. So Peyton's been juicing. You heard it here first.
Absolutely. So just to kind of give you an update in terms of maybe what's hitting the old taps later on. So they will be bringing back their Black Forest Sour, a little different puree and yeast providers. So it's going to be a little bit different than last year's version. Along with a New England IPA, might be called Plaid Days. He's not sure yet. Using Triple Pur and Cascade. So I had both of those out of the, before they hit the fermenter when I was there. And it's actually a collab with Black Roads in London.
Nice.
There you go.
So yeah, another major component of Jobsite is their wood-fired pizzas. Brett, I believe you believe that this is the best pizza in Stratford.
Correct.
As well, they've got a nice soft pretzel and some house-made beer mustard.
Love me a soft pretzel.
You do love your soft
Just
pretzels.
new. Started in December. Just started. Get there.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So the hours at the brewery: Wednesday and Thursday 11 to 8, Friday and Saturday 11 to 9, and Sunday 11 to 4.
Yeah, and if you're going, you might as well join in the points program, or as they call it, the Feist points program. Or if they don't, they should. What that means is every 1,000 points earns you a free pizza with both the in-house and retail purchases.
So Brett, you're at what, like 100,000 points so far now, or?
Well, it subtracts. Like once you get 1,000 points, and then it's put in.
You take it away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
take it away. Yeah.
Take in, take out. Delivery. So in town is free within Stratford, and then $12 for a flat rate shipping outside of the area.
Nice.
So you can cash in literally on the points program. So when you're in town, go ahead and get yourself a free pizza if you have those 1,000 points.
There you go. Well, as always, we're going to link their information on our social media so that you guys can check them out.
And let's get to work on the first beer, boys. Thank you to the whole team at Jobsite, including Phil, which has provided the beers on today's episode, or in honor of Betty White passing away. Thank you for being a friend.
Yes, thank you very much.
Hey, I'm wearing Betty White in my literally Golden Girls t-shirt.
You are. Interesting.
So the first beer we have today is called Impact, which is an IPA, 6.9 ABVs and 39 IBUs.
Oh, Fife. I tell ya. So the beer is noted as a blend of East Coast and West Coast styles of IPA. So I don't know why we just don't call these central IPAs. Really, we need to start coming up with that, right?
Middle.
Middle IPAs. The hop bite is kept to a minimum, so it says, while showcasing the aroma of the hops. And we're going to talk about some of those hops a little bit later on. Oats are added to give the beer thickness and kind of like this malty kind of backbone throughout. So we're going to kind of see some of the colors when we open it up and take a look at it, because it's not really a traditional kind of East Coast, West Coast traditional IPA, right? So we're going to see a bit different in the color scheme.
So the ingredients in the beer include, first of all, water. Who could have thought about that? Two-row, homey, and crystal malt.
That's honey. That's a typo.
Honey malt, all right, along with some flaked oats. And the hops included are Cascade, Simcoe, Amarillo, and the later two, Simcoe and Amarillo, are added in the dry hop process.
Nice.
That is correct. So you can follow us on Untapped at Craft Beer Connoisseurs and on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons. Just had to throw that in there right now.
Nice.
The overall rating for Impact is 3.61 out of 5 with 619 check-ins. And producer Peyton popping in real quick here. The can has 209 ratings, 3.61. The bottle, so originally when it was actually open, they had 650 milliliter bottles. And Chris, I think you said that you've had a couple beers from there.
I did, yeah.
Or out of the bottle, 3.53. Draft, 158, 3.66. Crowler, 20 at 2.64.
Oh, wow.
That really brings it down.
That's a
And Growler, 17 check-ins, 3.65. And Tasters, 129.
Oh, Peyton's just giving us
With
everything.
3.60. Well done, Peyton.
Jeez. Whew. That was a step back and a Hail Mary. All right, so let's grab our cans. Let's grab our glasses. And for the first time in 2022, let's open her up.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Oh, no. 2022, and some things never change.
It's a full can.
I was going to say, the one thing I never get disappointed with Jobsite is the cans are always fully 355 milliliters.
Yeah. And that's usually done. We've talked about this with other breweries as well, is by filling the can up as high as it is. It's not necessarily for our benefit, but it's for the beer's benefit, which I guess alternatively is for our benefit. It fills it up to the top, which keeps that freshness in.
That's right. So since this is a middle IPA, we're drinking out of a middle IPA glass. So make sure to use your proper glassware.
I love how you chuckled to your own joke.
Yeah. We're only drinking out of the middle of the glass, not out of the sides.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So what we see here on the pour is, depending on how you pour it, but looking at basically all three of ours, is there's a lot of head on it.
A lot of head.
Chris more than ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're talking about tight bubble formation. Peyton would love that. A nice tight bubble formation.
Oh, yeah.
If
That's 2 Peyton Manning jokes.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Yeah. Good job. Good job. And in color, you guys want to talk about the color? We talked about it basically with the malts being added in with this one. What do you guys see on the color?
It's quite dark. And we will mention that on Untapped, it's actually labeled as a red IPA. Nowhere on their website or on the can does it say it's a red IPA.
So
but
I feel as though that was a mistake due to the former manager, Dean, who's one of my good friends. When he put all the beers in Untapped, he obviously
Calling 'em out.
did not click the right button.
wow.
Well, you know what?
Did you hear that bus that just ran Dean over?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think we're saying former friend Dean. But when we look at it, we do have some. I'd say this is a very copper in the hue. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And definitely just taking a smell here.
Yeah, we haven't talked about this.
Yes, not the aroma yet.
That's good.
You definitely kind of get that a little bit of maltiness coming through on the nose.
Absolutely. So, Tyler,
Yeah,
you want to taste it or no?
I would love to taste it. I would absolutely enjoy tasting
Well,
it.
then let's go ahead and do that.
All right.
Thoughts, gentlemen?
So I haven't had this before.
Yes, so I'll let you lead.
Yeah, very, very new to me. Bitterness coming in heavier on the back end.
Yeah.
I just, as I kind of like sip kind of progressed through it, I'm looking at Producer Peyton with their pour. Similar kind of thing on the head there. It's the first time I actually see his glass, so that's nice to comment on that.
And he's using the proper glassware as well.
Proper
Yes,
glassware, yeah. The maltiness is present too. So forward on malty, bitter on the back end. That's what
So
I'm getting
almost
so
like,
far right now.
is it hitting that blend?
It's doing what it's supposed to do. I think that, again, it's the IPA kind of traditional is not really there, but I guess that's kind of the mix between the East and the West Coast, right? Because I can't pin it as a New England. I can't do that as a West Coast, right? So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree with everything. I'm getting quite a bit of the hoppiness coming through. And I think, we mentioned it is labeled as a red IPA. I think it does have some of that red IPA characteristics, like heavy on the malts, almost a little bit of like an amber-ish type, flavoring to it with kind of,
The malty characteristics.
yeah, like even like a bit of caramel, that sort of thing.
Well, I will say that the last red IPA we had on the podcast was not very good. So this one is better than that.
Yes, this is a good beer for a red IPA. If it were a red IPA, right?
And one thing to kind of mention with this as well is there's a lot of fresh powder out there today, and we've refrigerated these beers by the natural refrigeration. So these beers are actually it is
quite
cold.
cold.
It's colder than the refrigerator.
Literally
right?
sat in my garage and then made the trip here.
You are the beers. Huh? You are the beers.
The beers, not me.
Yeah, okay.
It's almost like we were making our own ice bock.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But like this is colder than a refrigerator, and I think
is.
that it actually helps with the flavor profile, the maltiness, and really helps with that aroma and the flavors kind of come to the forefront a bit more, maybe because it is a bit colder than the traditional refrigerator.
Absolutely. And you can still see, if you take a nice close look at it, you can see the floating bubbles throughout. I know it's not absolutely like clear, but you can definitely tell if you put, right close.
Decent carbonation. It's not overly carbonated, but again, I think that's because the IPA style isn't super carbonated generally, right? So I like this. I can get a little bit of caramel in it. But
Yes.
do you want to talk about any of the flavors that? Do you want
So
to go through the five flavor
that's what I was
profiles?
going to say.
Yeah.
I'll go through the top 5 flavor profiles. We can all do that.
Yep.
So number 1, hoppy.
Yeah, I would say it definitely is hoppy. That's the first thing that kind of jumps
I
out
get
at me.
the hops right off the
One
bat.
thing I do want to add in here, sorry, before we
go ahead.
continue, is that the 2.64 from Producer Peyton was a fat finger, and it was supposed to be a 3.64. So
for the Crowler.
the Crowler is actually 3.64.
Incomplete pass.
64. There it is. There's another. So we're glad that we got that in there. And then they also on the can have the independent craft brewer stamp. So hoppy was number 1.
Number 2, smooth. I find this going down very, very smooth.
Yeah, I don't think it's number 2.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't put it number 2, but it's a smooth IPA.
It could be in the 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3, malty.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
I would put
malty.
that number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is where things kind of get different with Untapped sometimes, because number 4 and number 5 are pretty much the exact same thing, just with 2 letters added. So number 4 is caramel, and number 5 is caramelly.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, eh? I would say, yeah, there's a little bit of that caramel coming through. Not a lot, like not as much as you would expect from, like I said, an amber, but there's a hint there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think we could probably go with 5 on this one. I mean, Producer Peyton is saying maybe there's 4. We've done the last 2 episodes talked about how maybe you don't have to do the 5, but and I can understand that. But with this one, I would throw in bitterness.
Yeah.
Yes, I would throw in
right.
bitterness.
I would
on
say
the back end
it's bitter.
especially.
Right,
Yeah.
and Peyton says the same thing. Like we can get 5 in here. I think 5 is warranted. The caramelly probably not.
And sometimes you see Untapped is just stretching for that 5th one, especially when check-ins are less, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So speaking of other people's thoughts on this beer, we should probably do that. Let's go to some Untapped users. Chris, you the first one.
Yeah, the first one comes from Liam M. Handle is MC Wade. On December 18th, stated, nice and flavorful, hoppy, bitter, all around a nice pour. And Liam gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Nice.
Tyler?
Yeah. I've got Glenn. Handle is Funnelhead. That's an interesting one. On December 26th, said the following. Pow! A big pinch of citrus. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. So again, Glenn and Liam both giving it 3.5 out of 5. And Brett, why don't you start us off with our ratings?
Glenn was definitely going through a roller coaster of emotions there.
Yeah.
So I've had this beer obviously a few times, as you probably have guessed. Just a thought. I'm going to stick with my rating, 3.5. Again, it's a nice blend, East, West Coast styles. But again, it's in the middle in terms of ratings for me as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've also had this beer before, as you mentioned, Brett. I've actually had it in the 650 milliliter bottle a while ago. So having it out of the can is a little different.
Yep.
But basically, I gave it a 4.25 when I had it out of the bottle. I'm going to go a little bit down to 4.0.
A 4.0. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice. Yeah. So for myself, it is a very interesting beer. We haven't had many of these. I'm going to give it a 3.25. So I'm going to give it a 3.25. The producer also has previously had this out of a bottle, much like you, Chris.
Yeah.
And as well as a taster.
Oh.
And gave it a 3.5. So they're going to stick with the can is going to be a 3.5 as well. So 3.5 bottle taster can. So it doesn't matter how you get it, as long as you don't get that 3 or 2.64 at a crowler, which is actually 3.64. Brett, do the math.
Hey, they had it out of an orange crowler, which is one of the few you see.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So that gives us a team overall score of 3.5625. I feel as though we're probably going to round down to a 3.5.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say so. All right, well, let's nail down the second beer. All right, so the second beer that we're having today is called Welder's Flash, which is a white stout. It may or may not have vanilla in it.
To be decided.
To be determined, because there's a couple of different versions on Untapped. But this beer won a silver in the smoked beer category at the 2020 Ontario Brewing Award. So
we really haven't had a beer that's been kind of like smoky, right?
Correct.
Like I don't think we've had anything in this category before.
I don't think so. No. So it comes in at 5.5 ABV and 30 IBUs.
So I don't think this comes up a little bit later on, but I am kind of curious because the name of this is Welder's Flash.
Yeah.
And one of the byproducts of Welder's Flash would be kind of this smokiness. I did work in a factory, and you get this kind of like this, again, very metallic kind of smoke smell that comes off of it, right? So I'm wondering if that's kind of this, again, merging between the Welder's Flash and being a smoked beer.
Look at you go.
Brett, do you have any insight on that or no?
No. Okay. I'm going to let you just talk and then I'll talk.
That's good. All right. So this white stout has a full body of flavor with a bold coffee taste. Again, we expect that as it is a stout.
Yep.
Now it does, as it's kind of explained, is it's supposed to have some subtle sweetness from the cacao nibs.
Again, cacao, one of the best words to say in the English language.
So we'll see. We'll see what kind of comes through there, right? So I don't know if we're going to kind of be expecting this kind of like mirage of, if you will, of the smokiness kind of coming in, because it's not kind of dictated in this full body flavor, but we'll see what kind of comes in.
Yes, so obviously a white stout, it's different than a regular stout, is created by omitting the dark roasted malts from the grain and replacing them with a brewer choice of either cold steep coffee, cacao nibs, or vanilla beans. So it's usually added to the beer post-fermentation to impart the bitterness and roasted character than a regular stout would have, just without the color. And sometimes if the brewer wants to, they can add oats, which can add for like a fuller mouthfeel as well.
Yeah, and so we have had a white stout on the podcast before, actually from Clifford, which wasn't too long ago.
Yes.
And so, again, we can kind of do this juxtaposition of just comparing the two and seeing what that looks like, whether that's on
that one did have almonds, though.
It did.
It did, which you weren't.
Which you liked but didn't like.
Right.
It was a very confusing time for everybody. Do we want to do the check-ins, or do you want to do that in a bit?
I'll do them.
You want to do them now?
Yep.
All right.
So on Untapped, again, follow us. This beer has 229 check-ins with a 3.61 rating. Producer Peyton coming in fast with everything. Can 112.
Fast and accurate.
He's running the no huddle.
Yeah, no huddle. Can 112, 3.65. Draft 46 at 3.8. Taster 54 at 3.62. There's also an Untapped with a Welder's Flash with cinnamon and vanilla.
And we talked about how there's some different variations.
Yeah.
Well, I think Chris mentioned that, right?
Which we may have in our hands.
It's true. Sure. 16 ratings at 3.98. I'm one of those ratings. Because apparently 15 ratings for can at 3.93, because obviously someone did not add the serving style. I remember that one actually came out when they were locked down, so I don't think there'll be any ones that would be on a tap for that one.
So that's good information to have.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, you know what to do, guys. Grab that can.
Do I?
Grab that glass. One thing I'm going to
Should we pour it on our shield just because you don't know if there's going to be any Welder's Flash going to this?
Well, you know what? The way
That's
that Chris pours this, I'm sure he should put on Welder's shield because he's going to get some in his face for sure. One thing to note in the picture when we do this is that our glassware, some of them are going to look a little bit different. And if you spot the knot, let us know and message us on Instagram. But grab that new glassware that you probably got for Christmas. If you didn't, then somebody doesn't love you. And grab your can and let's open her up.
Little splish splash. I was taking a bath in my face there.
Yeah.
Wow, there you go, Betty White.
You did need your Welder's shield.
Exactly.
Again, they're pretty full cans. So we are drinking this white stout out of a Nonic pint glass. So make sure to use your proper glassware.
Yes, and I've actually never had a full can of the regular Welder's Flash.
Why is your hand so wet?
Because it's splish splash. I was telling you that.
I looked over your right hand. It is.
See my left hand? Do you see my shirt?
Oh my goodness.
So
Just a disaster over here.
You've never had a full can, so
Just
you've
had it in
only
a taster.
split it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So let's. You know what? Let's start with on the nose this time. Chris, what do you got? You're getting in there pretty good. Peyton, you put down your notes on the nose if you got anything.
I get a lot of the maltiness. It doesn't, and then some coffee coming in as well.
Yes, I'm getting coffee and maltiness.
Yeah.
Tyler?
Yeah, I think that's the same thing. Peyton's saying no vanilla or the cinnamon, which is true. I think cinnamon is a very, maybe pungent's not the word. Maybe it is. Kind of like pungent kind of smell. And I think if it was
strong.
in here, very strong. Yeah, if you would have it, you would know it. And I don't think
so.
we're getting cinnamon, at least on the nose. And with my extremely large schnoz, I feel like I would smell it. I'm not picking it up.
And I think maybe if we look at it, it's one of those things where I think the vanilla is going to be in the taste, or as some would say, on the swallow. Versus,
you just can't give that up.
I know I can't.
Like that's your thing now. I love it. I love that for you.
It's just going to be a running gag for the rest of eternity in terms of this podcast. But I feel like the vanilla is going to be on the taste, not on the nose, because it's not on the nose, right?
Yep.
So it could be just the coffee that's added, or maybe there's vanilla beans that isn't exactly in the ingredients. Who knows?
So we've done nose. Let's do the color. I'm interested to see what you guys. I have got a comment, but I'll hold back.
Does it look like a lighter version of the Impact?
Go ahead.
Well,
yeah,
I would say, it is. It is copper, basically. I would say it's actually darker than like a traditional white stout. That's kind of my thought.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I thought so.
So comparing this to, I believe it was Spider's Palace at Clifford, it was a very white stout.
Yes.
Very white in color, right? So, it's interesting because this isn't as much.
Yes. So, shall we?
You want to get going, eh?
I do.
Holy heck.
Well, producer's just like, no huddle, let's get going here.
Yeah,
Right.
well, that's fine. The producer, you could calm her down a bit. So let's get into the tasting.
How do we feel here?
Lots of coffee coming through for me.
Yes. But like in a good way. Like, I don't like coffee. But like, I find this to be nice and refreshing.
The vanilla sits.
So are we getting the vanilla from it? Do we think there's vanilla in this one?
I don't. So here's the thing. I from my tasting, I feel like there's a vanilla flavor that sits.
On the back end, especially.
It just
I'm getting it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
like I think it sits there, but it is again coffee kind of forward, smooth. I would give it some smoothness, but yeah, I think it is. The vanilla sits there a little bit at the end.
I actually,
Whether or not it's there or not, that's what I'm tasting.
I can definitely understand why this won an award. That's kind of where I'm at.
So and here's the thing.
This version, yes.
This one did win the award, or was it one of the
I
other
think
variations?
maybe like last year's version had a little less vanilla than this year's.
So this one does have vanilla. You can confirm that. Is what you're saying.
I can confirm on the taste. I mean, you also confirmed that you thought that was on the taste.
Yeah. No, I know, but I just didn't know if you had like empirical evidence that spoke towards that. Is like if Phil said that this had vanilla or not.
It does have vanilla.
Okay. So then there is.
No cinnamon.
Yeah, I'm not getting cinnamon.
No,
at all.
I'm getting zero cinnamon,
Nice.
which is fine with me because I'm not a huge cinnamon fan.
Oh, that's.
Cinnamon and black licorice.
Well,
so
you're going to hate February. All right. I'm going to take you guys through the top 5 flavor profiles. So what we're going to do here is the same thing that we always do. And thanks to Producer Peyton for putting this together. Number 1, coffee. What are you guys getting?
Yes, definitely
100%.
getting a lot of coffee on this one.
All right. Producer Peyton says, oh, oui. Number 2, we've got a light.
correct. It drinks lighter than what the ABVs provided.
Yeah, it is light, especially like when you consider it compared to a stout, like a normal stout. But when you compare it to like another white stout, it might not be as light.
100%. Number 3, creamy.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
so.
there is some creaminess in this one.
Would you be open to changing creamy to the vanilla?
And maybe the creaminess comes from the vanilla?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. So like maybe both.
Kind of
would apply,
interchangeable,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we get here. So number 4 is malty.
Absolutely. On the back end.
Yeah,
Right.
see, like it has maltiness, but when I first smelt it, I thought that
You dealt it.
Yeah, I did dealt it. I thought that there would be more maltiness in the taste than I'm actually getting.
Right. Okay. And number 5, mouthfeel.
I don't understand why mouthfeel is like a, flavor profile.
Yeah, I get
don't
that.
get
I think again, some beers I think go above and beyond just like the flavor profile, right? And you do get this kind of sensation within the mouth. Whether I mean, let's look at thickness, maybe, right? Like if
Right.
it was thick, then you feel that a little bit more. And I think that kind of like comes through with this. But this
Yeah.
one it's light, so it's not there.
Right. Like some beers, you definitely get a mouthfeel. This one, I'm not really getting much.
And maybe we toss the vanilla in there so it can be creamy and vanilla, right?
I think so, yeah.
And I think maybe mouthfeel comes more through in like a lactose milkshake beer kind of. You get that a little bit more.
Definitely.
I cannot wait for a milkshake stout.
Oh, well, I mean, they have milk stouts.
Yeah,
milkshake.
but milkshake maybe.
Milkshake,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. We'll
Strawberry
see.
milkshake stout. Come on.
This is just it, right? All right, so let's move on to maybe some Untapped users and what their thoughts are. Brett, you're going to take the first one. What do you got?
Yes, I am. So this one is from Chris D, and his handle is Chris Dolson. And he lives in Stratford, so look at that. Taking a little
What's his address?
social insurance number, credit card. So Chris was taking a little break from all the anniversary weekend shenanigans, so happy belated anniversary, with a book and a brew. And this will be the brew. Much like a black IPA, he's equally weirded out in a good way by the mystery of the taste perception based on what it looks like. It's like purple ketchup.
Okay.
Purple ketchup.
Right? You remember that?
Yeah.
No.
He rated a 3.25 out of 5.
But you know what? I think that's kind of a nice comparator because we've talked about this before. Is like something could look different but taste
Taste the same.
fairly similar,
Yeah.
right? You did a blind taste test on this,
That's a good point.
right? Yep.
Good point. Next one comes from Dale W.
Sorry, what was that? Dale?
Dale
Okay.
W.
Okay.
Handle is win some. So,
And you lose some.
Yeah, you do lose some sometimes. So on September 1st, 2021, Dale said, "Smells orange and spice. Taste is not what I expected." And Dale only gave it a 1 out of 5.
Dale might have been having.
I think he lost some that day.
Yeah.
He definitely lost some. So in terms of our ratings, I'll start us off. So I have had this beer in the past, and I gave it a 3.5, and I'm going to stick with that at a 3.5.
I had it in a taster back in the day. I'm going to stick with my overall rating. Original rating, I should say, not overall, original,
Yep.
of 3.5.
Which will also be overall.
Correct.
I'm going to go ahead and also give it a 3.5. So that's 3.5s for 3 of us. And the producer's going to stick with their original back on June 21st, 2020. In the Brett Pfeiffer favorite lobster glass is actually where
Who does
Producer
not
Peyton had
like
that.
a good lobster glass? That's all.
Is that lobster glass still alive?
It is alive without the handle.
Nice. All right.
That was how I knew you were at the cottage, was
Yeah,
the lobster
it's-
glass.
It wasn't the check-in at Point Clark.
It's the Point Clark special. So producer Peyton's going to give it a 3.25. So based on the information that was received from you, Brett, Peyton was hoping for more of like a vanilla forward kind of flavor on that
Yeah.
one. So Chris, what do we got?
Yeah, so overall as a team, that gives us a 3.4375, which we're going to round up to 3.5, which makes sense because 3 of us gave it a 3.5.
Math does add up. Blueprint reading, right?
Yeah.
So that concludes the review of Jobsite and the beers they provided. I think our shift is almost finished, boys.
We're almost there. Coming up, we're going to have a discussion on our New Year's resolutions. So stay tuned for that.
Well, boys, we did it. We made the first episode of 2022.
Here we are.
So it's only fitting to discuss our personal New Year's resolutions.
Oh, Lord, baby
So
Jesus.
for me, I probably should start first.
Do you want to start? Do you
Well,
want
I'm
to do one at a time, or how do you want to do it?
Let's do one at a time. Let's do a nice little round table, if you will.
Sure.
Right? Cool. So the first one, I kind of started towards the end of 2021. I hope to give it up in not give it up. Sorry. Hope to continue it in 2022 is being more active, getting to the gym more often. often, pending restrictions. Hopefully things stay open.
You're looking good, man.
Thank you.
You're looking good.
I have dropped about 35 pounds, 35 to 40
Nice.
pounds since
Congratulations.
March.
Give you a
Yes,
clap
thank
on
you.
that one. Attaboy.
Yeah.
Clap for yourself.
Yeah, I will.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah.
So imagine if I give up beer.
Imagine.
We wouldn't have a podcast.
It'd be the craft connoisseurs, and we talk about how to do arts and crafts.
There you go. Do you want me, you want me to go next? So here's the thing. We talk about New Year's resolutions. I'm not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions. I think that everybody's situation is different, and I respect that. I'm a guy who plans 3, 5, 10 years. I do that.
So you have your New Year's resolution for 2032.
Yeah, consistently. But I don't really plan a New Year's resolution. I did one time where it was a couple of years ago, and I was like, I'm not going to drink Coca-Cola as much unless there was alcohol content. So
Also, the one time Coca-Cola blew up in his car.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
That's a story for. We'll maybe do a producer special on that one.
Yeah.
So I'm not really a New Year's resolution fan, but I support everybody in their endeavors if that's what you choose to do and you want to make a resolution. Now, I do have some personal and professional kind of goals that I want to accomplish, whether it's this year or within my 3-year plan. So I'll go with one, and then we'll walk through it as well. Number one, let's do professional. So I want to get my CMO, which is the Certified Municipal Officer, which is a professional designation within the municipal government.
You're wanting to add more letters?
I want to change my letters. So I want to go from an AMP,
More designations, yeah.
AMP to a CMO. So that's one thing I want to do in 2022. Wow, rhymes. Chris, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't necessarily make New Year's resolutions. And, if people, need kind of that defined time as like a new year to start doing something new, that's totally fine. For me, it's like if I want to do something differently, I'll just do something differently. But I'm kind of along the same line. So in terms of like professionally, I don't necessarily have goals, but what I would say is like just continue to do what I'm doing from a professional perspective, improve any way I can, and that sort of thing. So that's my first one.
I believe they call that professional development.
Yeah.
And I'm the same. Like,
Well,
obviously, hopefully, pending, again, restrictions, that conferences and all that stuff, networking, all those things get to come back.
Nice.
To attend those. The next one that I would have is for Producer Peyton.
Yes.
Not a huge reader,
No, it's not.
Yeah.
but his goal is to read 20 books this year.
I've been working on the same book for 3 years.
Can he do it?
I hope
Let's
so.
take a poll right now.
You know what?
Can Producer Peyton do it?
We'll put it on the Instagram
Yeah.
and we'll have Peyton update us every once in a while.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know if he will.
What do you got for the next one, bud?
So obviously, as most of you guys know, I do play fast pitch softball. Same with Tyler. Granted, Tyler had a little bit less of a year last year. Restrictions.
Yes.
Hopefully, a full season can come back around in 2022. I need to get back out and train for an actual full season. So the last 2-3 years, literally, it was, play catch once, swing a bat once. Oh, first game. I need to get back into starting in the beginning of April and getting out. So I am ready for the first game come, hopefully beginning of May, middle of May, right? There might be a bachelor party that's interrupted with that, but still, that's what matters. Tyler.
Very nice. So this might come as a bit of a surprise to everybody, but again, not New Year's resolution, just maybe a goal that's on my 3-year plan that I figure I can maybe knock off in 2022. But I want to create an ebook. So I want to do an ebook on finance and an everyday person's journey to kind of financial independence and working towards that. So I kind of have an idea in my head. I want to do maybe this kind of series of ebooks, but I want to start off with probably number one is my financial journey, which I know is a little bit boring to autistic Ales. Sorry, buddy. But that's the one I want to start with. And then I have a couple other ones. One of the other ones may be, setting up your own podcast and helping others along the journey. And again, kind of building this kind of passive income kind of empire.
It will not be on the Books for Dummies series.
No.
It's going to be Tyler's books.
There you go.
All right.
Maybe Peyton can read them.
There you go.
He didn't say the size of the book. He just said books. He's reading all kids' stories.
Yeah, the kids' books, going back to Clifford
Clifford,
episode.
yeah.
All right. So for me, so I consider myself to be a good parent and spouse already, but I think yes, thank you.
Shout out to Chris's wife. You're doing an excellent job.
The real backbone of the family.
Yeah. Just continuing to be, a good parent and a good spouse like everybody. Obviously there's areas for improvement. So just trying to kind of work on those throughout the year and just always get better.
I don't know about you, but I'm the best damn husband there ever is. Kidding. And Tyler becoming a husband this year.
Yeah,
So,
true.
yeah, now you're getting married like literally this year.
This year.
Wow.
Anyway.
Well, we'll see how the pandemic treats us.
That's true.
That's the plan anyways.
For Peyton, they would like some house renovations. And probably to get their house renovated so they can do more stretching and yoga. For me, last one.
Yeah.
Cooking. As you guys know, I am not really good at cooking. The air fryer was probably the best invention for me.
Nice.
By the way, heated up chicken nuggets and fries from McDonald's. Awesome.
Still call them heat ups?
Yeah, still call them heat ups.
I love that.
So maybe, taking a cooking class, whether it be by myself, with my wife, and just to kind of learn to create things outside the norm. I've tried a couple times. Apparently, Rice Krispies do not work when you're trying to make apple crisp, but,
There's a story there.
There
we'll
definitely
talk
is.
offline about
there
that.
definitely
One.
is. But like just trying to, not make, grilled cheese, the basics.
Right.
Go outside the box.
Fair
Make
enough.
a full meal.
Good. You know what, Brett? I know you said about maybe doing a cooking class with
You want to do it together?
I would do a cooking class with you. I'll commit to that right now.
We will put that on Instagram Live with our beer
everybody
else. There you go.
You know what? I think we could do a cook. We shook
There
on
it
it.
is.
There you
Oh,
go.
handshake. It's official.
I think we'll look into it in 2022. I will do a cooking class with you. We'll do some beer pairings.
And then Chris and producer Peyton can rate our food and our beer choices.
Yes.
At 5.
And we'll do that. But I would 100% commit to that right now.
I will too, yeah, 100%.
And
I don't know where there's going to be one, but we'll figure it out.
We'll find one. I think that'd be good. I think that'd be a good one. Chris, what do you got?
Yeah. So finally, I'll just say, continuing to be pretty healthy, in terms of working out as well as eating well. I think
Cooking well.
Yeah.
Joining a cooking class.
We covered this in
kidding.
another episode. I probably do a lot more cooking than you guys.
100%.
100% correct.
Certainly more than Tyler. But yeah, like I mentioned before on another episode that I have the Peloton, and they've got a bunch of different kind of disciplines in terms of different classes that you can do. So just kind of exploring that more. I've been doing some sleep meditations to kind of help me sleep a little bit. So kind of working on that and seeing what other kind of areas there are that I can explore.
And you have the t-shirt to prove it from the Peloton.
I do have the t-shirt.
So there you go.
Yeah. You know what? New house, 2022.
That's true. New house in 2 weeks. So
Bigger commute for you.
yeah.
A lot of changes. Brett, hit us with Peyton's last one, and then we'll wrap her up here.
Well, Peyton would like to, again, continue his education. I don't know what in, because I don't know his profession. But he would like to probably add more letters to his name.
Well, isn't he a football player?
Sure. I'm pretty sure he's played football before, once or twice, maybe. I don't know.
So there we go. I guess we can kind of wrap it up there. We've got some healthy living, healthy cooking skills, professional designations, and just being an all-around great person. And we assume that you guys will be doing the exact same as us because you're all-around great people as well. At the end of the day, that's going to be 2022 for us. We'll keep on talking. We'll move on to the next one, and we'll say your goodbyes soon. Bye-bye. All right, that's all for today's episode. Thank you again for listening to our first episode in 2022.
Yeah, thank you. So keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for a producer special.
And make sure to tell your friends, family, and favorite Madden cover athlete.
There you go. Happy New Year, everybody, from all of us and producer Peyton. I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris, and together we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.